Sir Dr. Vicente Gomez, Head Special Projects, Surgery and Allied Medical Services of the PCMC. Good afternoon, sir. The man of the hour, Attorney Chito Cruz, the General Manager of the National Housing Authority. And of course, Attorney Eulalio Diaz, the Administrator of the Land Registration Authority. Good afternoon, sir. Attorney Pastor Benavides, the Assistant Chief State Counsel of the Department of Justice. Good afternoon, sir. Then from the NGOs, Lungsod Kabataan PCMC Medical Alumni, Dr. Sonia Gonzalez, ma'am. And Ms. Lucila Encina, President Samahan ng mga Kawani ng PCMC. Good afternoon, ma'am. Meron po bang hindi natawag, hindi na-recognize? Okay. Sige. So, at issue today is the land dispute, call it a dispute for now, between PCMC and NHA. And in the last hearing, NHA did manifest that they were willing to enter into an agreement subject to a legal cover, if they had a legal cover. And we did get a legal cover through the Department of Justice. And we have that Department of Justice opinion today. And in the Department of Justice opinion, I will just cite the dispositive portion. Number one, that according to the Department of Justice, the 1992 Memorandum of Agreement Deed of Exchange, which was made through a public instrument, resulted in the transfer of the ownership of the properties that were the subject thereof. Thus, Department of Health had acquired ownership over the property. And the terms of said deed of exchange were further consummated sometime in 2003 upon the transfer of the Sambag lands from DOH, this one in Cebu, to NHA. Second, the DOJ also said that the NHA and the DOH opted to base the valuation of the properties at their market value in 1992. The exact value of which is still to be determined. It is a factual matter which must be determined and settled by the PCMC, DOH, and the National Housing Authority. Pero sinabi rin ng DOJ that there is nothing that precludes them. Walang hadlang sa kanilang pagbabago ng kanilang agreement in such a way as to even transfer the properties without cost, should this be their mutual intent. Because, according to them, pwede naman ito, pinapayagan ito ng batas under PD 1445, Presidential Decree 1445. And third and final point is that since NHA no longer owns the lands which were transferred to DOH, the 2013 sale to the PIDS, which was made, is void ab initio. So, walang bisa yung deed of sale. So with this, we would like to hear from the parties. Attorney Chito Cruz.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to everybody. Firstly, we also are in receipt of that decision, Your Honor, and while we have no real problem in accepting the conclusions or the dispositive portion of that opinion. Would like to raise one issue on the valuation, Your Honor. Number one, we have met with the Congressional BICAM on the budget preparation for 2015, Your Honor, and we have raised the valuation issue, and for which the congressional side of the BICAM agreed and has given us a chance to use the 2003 valuation of the property, considering that the actual transfer of the DOH property to NHA was only concluded in 2003. And if we do the 1992 valuation, actually, if we do the computation, NHA would be really advancing money from the transfer of these properties, considering that we have to return the PIDS deed of sale, consideration for the deed of sale, plus for us to be able to transfer the property, we need to pay capital gains tax, transfer tax, and dock stamps for the property based on the present valuation of the BIR, and because of that, we'll have to shell out another 100 million to cover just so that we can transfer this property. So we appeal to the DOH and PCMC if we can use the 2003 valuation anyway, consistent with the DOH opinion, that we can actually enter into another a new agreement insofar as some of the items in the valuation of the property. So actually, we have met yesterday with the DOH secretary, and we have agreed on the following. May I just state on what we have agreed in principle in yesterday's meeting? Firstly, we agreed to continue with the deed of the MOA, which covered the swapping of the NHA PCMC property and the DOH Sumbag property in Cebu. For purposes of valuation, we agree to use the 2003 valuation, and we agree with the decision of the DOJ to cancel the sale of the portion of the property to PIDS, and for us to return the money, and this to be covered in the deed of conveyance in favor of PCMC. We also agree to convey the title of PCMC of the property over which PCMC is located to DOH next year, the entire property, even though the amount is not yet will not be fully paid with the funding of 500 million that is being given us under the DOH under the GAA of 2015.
So you have agreed to transfer the title to the Department of Health,
to the DOH next year.
Attorney Diaz, please take note, and once the instrument is signed, please make sure that it is transferred in the LRA. Please proceed.
Yes, we just would like to ask two things. One is the balance of whatever balance there is in the deed of sale, or in the deed of sale will be annotated at the back of the title to protect the interests of NHA to recover the balance. Two, would like to appeal to the Senate to provide the DOH a budget for 2016 so that the balance of the payment would be covered in the DOH budget, and therefore we can conclude all the agreements that we will be making today.
I understand for this next year's budget, there is an allocation of 500 million for the payment of the lot already.
Yes, Your Honor. And the balance would be about 400 million.
400 million.
Yes.
So if I don't see any problem, if we allocated this for next year, then certainly next budget season we can allocate the balance so that matapos na ito para matanggal rin yung annotation para talagang mapunta lahat sa the Department of Health yung title.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Yes.
And third, and lastly, we have agreed to shoulder all the taxes covering the transfer of the property in favor of DOH, including the payment of capital gains tax, transfer tax, dock stamps, and the registration. I'm reminded of the registration fee by by the LRA administrator. I hope he will consider waiving some of this, Your Honor.
Secretary Garin, would you like to state anything on the matter?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, allow me to thank Attorney Chito Cruz for bearing with us. Nonetheless, it is true we agreed on the 2003 valuation, but on the part of the Department of Health, we just wanted to be sure, because going over the legal opinion of the Department of Secretary Laila de Lima, it says, we would like to point out that the agreement regarding valuation, as indicated in the 1992 MOA, Deed of Exchange, was between DOH and NHA. Thus, there is nothing which precludes them from altering the agreement, perhaps in such a way as to even transfer the properties without cost, should this be their mutual intent, because such is currency is so and so. Our dilemma here, Mr. Chair, is that when members of the EXECOM and other officials of the department looked into this paragraph, it implies that there is nothing that precludes us from altering the agreement, but it was geared towards saying, okay, we don't have to pay for anything. But be it as just to appease and to come up with a solution to all of this, there is no problem with us if we base it on the 2003 valuation, simply because Attorney Chito Cruz, GM Cruz, has acceded to my request for a full transfer of the title, subject and annotation. May we therefore request, Your Honor, for the Department of Justice to affirm the interpretation of the National Housing Authority, that the paragraph also entails not only the possible transfer of properties without cost, but the possibility of an agreed valuation that is more than the 1992 cost as contained in the deed of exchange.
Yes, actually, it just says that you can novate the contract. Novation is allowed basta mutual in the mutual agreement of the parties. But however, just so that we can have a legal cover for everybody, Department of Justice, could you...
Good afternoon.
Yes, good
the position of the Department of Justice, there is no problem with any agreement as long as both parties agree on a certain point, and then because that will effectively amend the previous MOA they entered into. As long as DOH and the NHA agreed on such point, there is no problem with that.
Yes, sir. Your point is well taken, actually, but I think they just want to be doubly sure that they have the legal cover. So we would like to request later on, once they come up with an agreement, that this interpretation also carries the innovation in accordance with the agreement that they will execute. Attorney Benavides? Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
With that, Mr. Chair, allow us to thank, of course, Your Honor and Senator Bam Aquino for a timely Christmas gift to the Philippine Children's Medical Center.
Senator Bam Aquino?
Of course, we'd like to thank Secretary Garin and Attorney Cruz, GM Cruz, for working together, no, and coming up with a solution. I'd just like to point out also that the total budget for PCMC for 2015 is 1.226 billion pesos. 500 million, which is allocated for the 500 million is for the payment of the partial payment, no? Although pag-uusapan pa daw yon, GM, partial payment of the land, 400 million for upgrading of the existing hospital building, and 326 million, another 326 million, which includes equipment and possibly a new wing. So I think, apart from the land, this is definitely a big boost for PCMC. And the next year, we will endeavor to fund the balance payment for NHA, GM Cruz. No? At least Senator Gingona and I will support that move to finally close the book on this matter. I was just wondering, Secretary Garin, since there's 1.226, you opted to have part of the money go to upgrading, no? Or go to the budget of PCMC, because technically you could have actually paid them off already this year, no? I take it there was wisdom behind postponing part of the payment for next year.
Your Honor, it was not only myself but other members of the DOH family have visited PCMC, taking into consideration the volume of patients they have been taking care of, not to mention the outpatients and the children with cancer that has been coming in and out of PCMC. We deem it proper for taxpayers' money to be spent more on direct health care. Anyway, we fully understand that the GM Cruz is a very patient manager.
Secretary, maybe the agreement can be 10 gives na lang, Attorney Cruz. 40 million per year for 10 years, no? Well, we'll see, no? As long as it's paid, no? As long as it's paid. So, I'm sure we can be creative in finding ways to fulfill the balance payment. Mr. Chairman, that's all, no? And I'd like to thank the Chairman, of course, for taking on this issue and spearheading this move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise, I would like to thank you, my distinguished colleague, for the support in this issue. Before anything else, I'd also like to special mention, I'd like to take this occasion to mention the Land Registration Authority for Attorney Diaz. No? They have been doing a fantastic job for the past years that they have been in as an administrator, and we would like to commend you for your reforms in the Land Registration Authority. Maybe we should reward you in the next budget season.
Merry Christmas.
At before we end, Dr. Lecciones and Dr. Gomez, Dr. Lecciones and Dr. Gomez, meron kayong pangako na kailangan itupad nyo na pagdating ng Christmas party ninyo, imbitado si Attorney Chito Cruz. Sigurado po kayo.
Mag-practice na siya ng kanta.
Okay.
Kaso doon kumakanta eh. Sumasayaw pa.
So, is there anyone else that wants to say anything? Okay, and so we end this, we adjourn this with a happy note. Merry Christmas to everyone.